Counter-Strike was released shortly after Half-Life 1, and would continuously be updated until it reached version 1.6. When the game was officially released, it was branded on its cover art as Half-Life Counter-Strike. This naming fits quite well. Similar to Team Fortress, many maps make use of Half-Life 1's assets, and therefore setting outright. Nuke, Prodigy, Siege, and Militia all use Half-Life 1 textures directly. They even feature Black Mesa markings on crates and other styles of the facility. Nuke's name, in fact, is in a reference to an ICBM, which we see Black Mesa as having access to in Half-Life 1. Even maps not reusing the desert setting reuse various assets related to Black Mesa. In reality, this is because both games were mods of Half-Life 1, so they reuse a lot of the same content as Half-Life 1. The games are even nested in Half-Life 1's file structure. The Half-Life branding was also dropped for every Counter-Strike game after it, and by CS2, it's clear that Counter-Strike has its own narrative, separate from the Half-Life games. But let's for a moment indulge in what is shown. Take the branding, assets, and what the file structures say seriously, and treat CS 1.6 as a part of the Half-Life universe. What do we get? Before we do that though, there is something else we need to talk about. A sequel to this first Counter-Strike game called Condition Zero was released. This game brings back all of 1.6's official maps without changes, as we can see with Nuke here. Though, it also brings with it edited versions of some of these maps, denoted with the CZ suffix. A lot of these maps are barely changed, only taking advantage of some new lighting and texture tech. In the case of Condition Zero's version of Piranesi, the Black Mesa SUV is even retained, despite having the chance to change it with the edit. This means we can expand our net a little for this crossover into Condition Zero. This also fits, as the game's in-universe timeframe does align with the rough timeframe of when Half-Life 1 takes place. Even more curiously, the fragmentation grenade seen in-game also aligns with the unique style of Half-Life 2's grenades. In both 1.6 and Condition Zero, the FAMAS is branded as a Clarion 556. Alex's M1911 in Half-Life Alyx is branded as being from Le Clarion. But that's not all. Condition Zero also has an extra, fully fledged campaign called Deleted Scenes. In there are the ceiling turrets from Half-Life 1, defending an advanced icebreaker, which is in the Arctic. The Condition Zero edits for Airstrip and Prodigy contain something interesting. Half-Life 2 textures, several months before Half-Life 2 released, while it was still in active development. This would mean that the teams at both Gearbox and Ritual Entertainment worked really close with Valve, likely explaining some of these similarities. But I think that just makes these connections stronger. Okay, so if we consider 1.6, Condition Zero, and Deleted Scenes as canonical to Half-Life, what do we see? Between what we see in the play spaces and various descriptions, for the most part it's world building. The descriptions for maps can actually be found in the map folder outside of the game itself, in plain text documents. Unless the game brings it up specifically, I will not be specifying the factions on different maps or missions, as the games often treat them as interchangeable, especially the Ts. Plus, the faction select is more for player expression than anything, allowing for odd scenarios like the Russian Spetsnaz fighting Middle Eastern insurgents at Black Mesa. Speaking of Black Mesa, we do get a bit more information on them as a company in this crossover idea. We see where all their containers are shipped off to, and it turns out they're going to warehouses like Assault. At Office, it looks like we see their labor union's headquarters. While Siege doesn't have as much Black Mesa labeled content, it does say it takes place at Sector E Materials Transport, which is part of On a Rail in Half-Life 1. Thanks to an archived interview around the time of Episode 2, we know that Valve intended for Black Mesa to have purchased the White Forest base, which might explain the SUV at Pure Nessie. Maybe some of the staff connected to the White Forest project went to the museum reopening for one reason or another. You could also theorize that the SS Gilder, being a Russian icebreaker, may have prompted the US government to approach Aperture to make their own advanced icebreaker, leading to the Borealis. This would align with Aperture's tendency to take government contracts very far and meet their requirements on a technicality. This world building would also cover a wide variety of areas outside of the normal locations seen in the Half-Life games, quite literally building our world sometime before the Xen invasion. This also includes real-world history that is shown in the descriptions for the CTs. With Pure Nessie as an example, we see through the various exhibit descriptions all sorts of history, both real and unique to this world. The Museum Villa Pure Nessie, a neo-Romanesque palace, features the art and architecture of Giovanni Battista Piranesi, who was an Italian archaeologist in the 18th century that had a specific interest in Rome. At Villa Pure Nessie are two major artifacts and attractions, which the Ts want to destroy to prevent the museum from reopening. These are the ancient sundial of a mad Emperor Fred, and an orrery supposedly built by the gnomes of Zurich. All of this seen somewhere in Europe. This doesn't stop there, though. We see London in the UK, and hear about the Wexford and Minshire football teams, and brands unique to different countries like the UK's Nation Bank. We seemingly get a bit of New York and Vertigo from the under-construction Rizzleton Tower, and no, I'm not making that up. We get to see the brand Rations Bank in the city of Miami. And what appears to be a bit of the Netherlands in Storm. Or Italy in the maps. Italy, Inferno, and the town of Siena. This crossover would also give us the Half-Life universe's anime and manga. The overall big picture we see is that the world is beginning to fall apart, even before Xen invades. Half-Life Alyx sort of hints at this already, with one newspaper directly calling the pre-war economy a bubble, which is a precarious situation to be in. While we see more expected policing and criminal activities like in Turn of the Crank, Miami Heat, or in the map 747, there does appear to be a general escalation of non-state actor actions compared to before. As shown in the descriptions for the T-side, many paramilitary groups formed as the Cold War drew to a close. We have the Phoenix Connection forming right after the breakup of the USSR, being a major group in Eastern Europe. The Elite Crew, a fundamentalist group from the Middle East. The Swedish-based Arctic Avengers, which bombed a Canadian embassy in 1990. And Guerrilla Warfare, another Middle Eastern group that would bomb a school bus of musicians in 1982 to fight against American culture. At the dawn of the millennium, these factions have gone on a global offensive, beginning this unraveling which is on full display in some maps, but especially in the Deleted Scenes campaign. If we look to Italy, a massive battle breaks out in Venice, with one of these groups during a joint mission of GSG-9 and GIGN forces. Back to the UK, it seems that Lord William and his properties in Kabul and Chateau are being targeted for his political views. Japan seems to be hit with a massive wave of this non-state actor activity, with one group attempting to disrupt a peace conference at Tokyo by bombing the subway, as well as a separate attempt to assassinate a local politician. The Shinjitsu no Kontan cult, or Chaos and Truth cult, also acquired VX nerve gas and planned on using it on the public.
My apologies for meeting here, but this situation requires a quick resolution. Long story short, the Shinjitsu no Konton cult are in possession of VX nerve gas and are planning on releasing it into a crowded populace. A defecting member of their clan has divulged the location of their compound. In doing so, he and many other members who are in disagreement with the cult's VX plans have been held against their will. We will be infiltrating the compound, locating and tagging all VX gas locations for the hazmat teams, and liberating as many hostages as possible.
Cuba and Havana seems to be undergoing major political events. There's also Greece and corruption, which seems to also be going through political upheavals. The Middle East and North Africa are rocked by war as well, something also implied through newspaper in Half-Life 2. A coalition mission in North Africa causes a Black Hawk Down situation in a country with Scud missiles. A group in the fake country of Bashistan raid the US embassy in Yapiti and take several hostages, provoking a US response. The SAS are also deployed into Bagba Atap. To destroy chemical weapons. Rebel groups also exist in the Philippines and in Argentina.
We have a critical situation deep in the jungles outside of Puerto Iguazu, Argentina. One of our helicopters was shot down by guerrillas during routine training.
In the case of Argentina, they seem to be a mixed Hispanic and German group with an interest in the geopolitical activities in the Balkans.
Hey, was ist da los? Hört mit dem Klopfen auf!
They also have a tank. A rebel group in the Philippines also take German nationals hostage, prompting a GSG-9 response. Turkey has also been caught up in this chaos as the map Torn takes place in a war-torn Istanbul, with the T's attempting to detonate chemical weapons to poison the water supplies of the area. Non-state actors using WMDs in some form also carry over to detonating nuclear weaponry. The T's in Train are attempting to destroy nuclear payloads on train cars. T's in Nuke also attempt to detonate the ICBM being held there. Two other groups would attempt to take over an ICBM silo in Russia.
Looks like there are two terror cells fighting in the silo over control of the nuke. One group is trying to steal it, another is trying to launch it.
While the Russian government was attempting to follow disarmament treaties.
Attention, everybody listen up. All right, comrades. Time to go over the standard procedure. By order of the Russian Nuclear Disarmament Treaty, we have been commissioned to disarm and dismantle the former Soviet nuclear missile silo Site 6 of Regiment 42. Inside, we are to locate and disarm the SS-18 ICBM missile and ready it for decommission. All launch equipment is to be destroyed, and all support staff are to be escorted off the premises.
Another group attempted to violently take control of the SS Gilder and use it as a makeshift WMD to destroy Vardo, Norway.
They are too well armed for us to get any gunships near your location. This is a one-man show. You've only got 15 minutes to shut down the engines before the momentum of the ship will plow it right to the city. If an icebreaker of that size hits land at that speed, its reactor will definitely go critical.
This force is armed to the teeth, even making use of a Harrier VTOL jet. Two separate groups have successfully managed to acquire nuclear weapons.
Alright, lads. Today we have a page torn directly out of the worst-case scenario handbook. Here's the good news. A large group of radicals has taken over a high-rise office complex in Northern Ireland. They've fortified the main entrance and positioned heavy weaponry on multiple floors. Now, the bad news. They have a tactical nuclear device and are planning on setting it off in the next 2 hours.
The first has an axe to grind against the British government in Northern Ireland.
Welcome! Wake up! Wake up, oppressor! You've nothing to fear. You'll soon be judged, and our people will finally be free!
This North Ireland group take over a Geneserve building in Belfast where they plan to detonate theirs. They even have access to an Mi-24 Hind, which prompts an air battle over the city. The second group goes to Latvia via Russia, not only bringing their nuclear weapon.
Okay, lads. We're going into a broken arrow situation. A missing nuke. Possibly in the hands of a suspected terrorist group.
But large amounts of hardware too.
My hands are freezing. I hope nobody tries to get in this place. I don't think I could pull the trigger with these fingers.
No problem. We could always throw icicles at an intruder.
The SAS in both cases are brought in to stop the bombs from detonating. Now, there is one final Counter-Strike game that I can mention. Counter-Strike Source. While it features no connections whatsoever to Black Mesa, it does liberally use Half-Life 2's assets, and even features a couple of companies from Half-Life 2 in it. And some of the descriptions are even reiterations of their 1.6 and Condition 0 versions. But CSS is special in a crossover capacity, so I shall return to it another day to take a deeper look at it.